my boyfriend demanded. My mom and sister are moving in. If you can't handle it, maybe we're done. I said, okay, then we're done. I packed my bags and left the house, which was a rental in his name. Now he, his mom, and his sister are all panicking about rent. My name is Aida Moss. I'm 33 years old, and 3 days ago, I walked out of a 6-year relationship so cleanly it scared even me. No screaming, no begging, no dramatic breakdown in the driveway. Just one sentence, one suitcase, and the sudden realization that I had been financing a life that was never truly mine. Ethan and I had been together for 6 years, living together for 4. The rental house was technically in his name because his credit had been stronger when we signed the lease 2 years ago. Monthly rent was $2,400, but the detail nobody ever acknowledged out loud was that I paid $2,000 of it every month, while Ethan contributed the remaining $400 from his part-time retail job. I worked full-time as an IT project manager, making around $75,000 a year. I covered utilities most months too. Internet, half the groceries, random emergencies. I kept telling myself relationships weren't supposed to be transactional. Couples helped each other. We were building towards something. Marriage eventually. A home. Stability. I had nearly $28,000 saved for a future down payment. Apparently, Ethan and his family saw that future differently. Last Tuesday, I came home from work around 6 in the evening and immediately felt something was wrong. The house had that strange stillness people create when they're waiting to ambush you emotionally. Ethan sat at the kitchen table with his mother Lorraine and his younger sister Brianna. Lorraine lived 2 hours away. Brianna lived across the country. Neither of them ever visited unexpectedly. Ethan looked nervous. Lorraine looked confident. Brianna looked irritated before I had even spoken. "We need to talk," Ethan said. I slowly set my purse on the counter. Okay. Lorraine leaned forward first. "I'm losing my apartment. Rent went up again and disability isn't enough anymore." Brianna sighed dramatically. "And I lost my job last month. I can't afford my city anymore. I need somewhere temporary while I figure things out." I waited. Nobody asked me anything. Ethan finally reached for my hand. "So they're going to move in with us. It just makes sense. We've got 3 bedrooms. They need help. They're family." I pulled my hand away so fast his fingers barely touched mine. "Wait, you already decided this?" His jaw tightened immediately. "I'm telling you what's happening." That sentence hit harder than he realized. Not discussing. Not asking. Telling. I looked between all 3 of them. "How long?" Lorraine answered casually. "Until I can find something affordable. Maybe 6 months." Brianna shrugged. "Probably the same for me. Maybe longer depending on work." Longer. I suddenly pictured my life shrinking room by room. Lorraine criticizing everything I bought because, technically, the boys were struggling. Brianna treating the place like a free hotel. Ethan expecting me to continue funding all of it while being praised for his generosity with my money. I asked carefully, "And where exactly was my input in this decision?" Ethan's expression hardened in a way I had honestly never seen before. "They're my family, Ada. My name is on the lease. If you can't support family when they need help, maybe we need to rethink this relationship." The room went silent. Lorraine folded her arms slowly, like she was waiting for me to apologize. Brianna smirked, and something inside me just snapped quietly into place. I sat there for maybe 10 seconds, staring at the kitchen table we bought together. I remembered building that table one rainy Saturday, while Ethan joked that someday our kids would eat breakfast there. I remembered believing him. Then I looked at the three of them, sitting there like a committee deciding how my paycheck would be spent. "Okay," I said calmly. Ethan blinked. "Okay, what?" "Okay, we're done." Lorraine's mouth literally opened. Brianna laughed once, like she thought I was bluffing. Ethan stood up so fast, his chair slammed backward. "You're seriously ending our relationship over this?" "No," I said quietly. "You ended it the second you told me my opinion didn't matter." "I didn't mean it like that." "Then you shouldn't have said it like that." I walked straight to the bedroom and pulled my suitcase from the closet. That's when panic finally hit him. "Aida, stop being dramatic." I ignored him and started packing clothes. Lorraine followed me into the bedroom. "This is what relationships are about. Sacrifice." Without looking at her, I answered, "Funny how the sacrifice is always expected from the person paying the bills." Brianna scoffed loudly from the hallway. "Wow, so you're abandoning him because his family needs help?" I zipped up a makeup bag. "No, I'm leaving because your brother decided I'm only valuable when I'm financing everyone." Ethan's voice cracked slightly. "Where are you even going to go?" "Hotel tonight, apartment soon." "You can't just leave." That finally made me stop. I turned around slowly and looked directly at him. "Watch me." His face changed right then. I could actually see the exact second reality entered his brain. Because if the lease was only in his name, then the responsibility was too. "You said this house is yours," I reminded him. "So congratulations. It's yours." Lorraine stepped closer to me, angry now. "You have obligations to him. And he just told me I have no say in the home I practically pay for," I replied. "You don't get partnership benefits while treating someone like an ATM." Ethan started crying then, which honestly shocked me more than the ultimatum itself. "Aida, please don't do this." But it was too late. The relationship suddenly looked painfully clear from the outside. Every compromise had gone one direction. Every sacrifice had been mine. Every future plan somehow depended on my income, while my feelings stayed negotiable. I grabbed my suitcase and walked out. Ethan followed me into the driveway, begging now instead of demanding. Lorraine stood near the front door, furious. Brianna kept muttering that I was selfish. But none of them offered to cover the missing $2,000. Not one. I drove to a Hampton Inn 20 minutes away and checked in for the weekend. When I finally sat on the hotel bed, the silence around me felt unreal. No tension. No guilt. No pressure. Just peace. Then my phone exploded. Ethan calling over and over. Texts pouring in. "Please come home. You're overreacting. How am I supposed to pay rent?" Lorraine calling me heartless. Brianna accusing me of making 3 people homeless. That last one almost made me laugh out loud. Homeless? They had a house. They just couldn't afford it without me. And for the first time in years, I realized how terrifying that truth was for them. The next morning, I woke up in the hotel expecting to feel devastated. Instead, I felt lighter. Not happy, exactly. More like the pressure inside my chest had finally stopped crushing my lungs. I sat there in the quiet hotel room, staring at the ceiling, while sunlight slipped through the curtains. And for the first time in years, nobody needed anything from me. No bills. No emotional caretaking. No pretending everything was balanced when it clearly wasn't. Then I made the mistake of turning my phone back on. 93 notifications. Most from Ethan. Some from Lorraine. A disturbing number from Brianna. "Please just come home so we can talk calmly. You're blowing this way out of proportion. Rent is due next week. What am I supposed to do?" That last message sat on my screen for a long time. Not, I miss you. Not, I love you. Not even, please don't leave me. Rent. I suddenly realized something horrifying. Even after 6 years together, his first real fear wasn't losing me. It was losing my income. Lorraine's messages were worse. Lorraine, a real woman, supports her partner. Marriage means sacrifice. Someday you'll understand how selfish this is. We weren't even married, but apparently I was already expected to financially support his entire bloodline forever. Brianna's texts were somehow even more aggressive. Hope you're happy making 3 people homeless. Ethan's crying because of you. You're cold as hell. I stared at that last one and actually laughed. Cold. Because I refused to subsidize 3 adults after being told my opinion didn't matter. I blocked all 3 numbers and went downstairs for coffee. While stirring powdered creamer into a terrible hotel coffee, I called a lawyer recommended by a coworker who had survived a brutal breakup involving shared finances. We scheduled a consultation for Friday afternoon. By then, my anger had started replacing the shock. The more distance I got from the relationship, the more memories started rearranging themselves into something uglier. The vacations I mostly paid for. The groceries Ethan always forgot to replace. The way Lorraine constantly joked that I was the successful one, like my income was community property. The way Ethan used to kiss my forehead whenever bills came due, like affection was cheaper than contribution. I spent Thursday apartment hunting online during lunch breaks at work. Tiny one-bedroom places suddenly looked beautiful to me. Quiet, clean, mine. Friday morning, things escalated. Around noon, my receptionist messaged me. There's a man downstairs asking for you. My stomach dropped instantly. When I reached the lobby, Ethan was standing near the entrance, looking exhausted. His eyes were red, his hair was messy. He looked like someone who hadn't slept properly in days. Security stood nearby watching carefully, because apparently he had already caused enough of a scene for them to notice. "Aida," he said the second he saw me. "Please." I kept my voice calm. "You cannot show up at my workplace. We need to talk." "We already talked." "No, you just left. You told me my opinion didn't matter in a home I was paying for." His face tightened immediately. "That's not what I meant." "Then explain what you meant." He opened his mouth, then closed it again. Because there wasn't another explanation. Finally, he lowered his voice. "I can't afford the house alone." There it was again. Not us. Not love. The house. "I'm sorry to hear that," I replied evenly. His eyes widened like he genuinely expected me to fold. "Aida, come on. We've built a life together." "No," I said quietly. "I built a life. You invited your family into it without asking me." He ran a hand through his hair. "Mom already gave notice at her apartment." "That sounds like poor planning." "Aida." "And Brianna moved across the country without a backup plan. Also poor planning." "You're being cruel." "No, I'm finally setting boundaries." He stared at me like he didn't recognize me anymore. Maybe he didn't. Because the version of me he loved most was the version that kept sacrificing quietly. Security shifted nearby awkwardly. I took a step back. "Do not come to my job again." His voice cracked. "So that's it? You gave me an ultimatum, Ethan. I accepted it." Then I walked away. My hands shook the entire elevator ride upstairs, but not from regret. From adrenaline. Because standing up for yourself after years of silence feels terrifying the first time you do it. That afternoon, I met with the lawyer. She listened carefully while I explained the financial setup, the lease being solely in Ethan's name, and the ultimatum. When I finished, she leaned back slightly and said, "Legally, you have no obligation to continue paying rent on a property that isn't yours." I actually felt my shoulders physically relax. She advised me to document everything, especially the texts involving the ultimatum and financial pressure. She also warned me that desperation often made people unpredictable. Turns out, she was right, almost immediately. That evening, I got messages from a new number. Brianna. Apparently, she had borrowed someone else's phone. "You seriously need to help with rent. Mom had to loan Ethan money already. We're going to lose the house because of you." I responded once. "I left because I was treated like a wallet instead of a partner. Do not contact me again." Then I blocked that number, too. Later that night, one of my friends called with gossip. Apparently, the first crack had already formed inside the house. Lorraine and Brianna were fighting over bedrooms. Ethan was panicking because rent was due in 5 days. And the landlord had apparently noticed extra vehicles and asked whether additional occupants had moved in permanently. I sat alone in my hotel room after that call, staring out at the parking lot lights. 6 years. Gone in less than a week. And yet, I didn't miss him the way I thought I would. I missed who I believed he was. That was the painful part. Not losing Ethan. Losing the illusion that he had ever truly seen me as an equal. Saturday morning, I signed paperwork for a 1-bedroom apartment. $1,400 a month. Cheaper than what I had been paying before. Smaller, too. But every inch of it would belong to me. No ultimatums. No freeloaders. No family meetings deciding how my paycheck should be spent. Just peace. As I signed the lease, my phone buzzed again with another unknown number. This time, it was Lorraine. One sentence. "You destroyed this family." I stared at the message for a long moment before deleting it. Number. I didn't destroy anything. I just stopped funding it. 3 weeks later, everything finally collapsed for them. The landlord discovered Brianna had officially moved in and painted one of the bedrooms bright purple without permission. Apparently, she said, "It's basically my room now anyway." The lease violation triggered an inspection, and things spiraled fast after that. Late rent. Unauthorized occupants. Noise complaints from constant fighting. And the biggest problem of all, none of them could actually afford the house. Ethan tried contacting me one last time through a mutual friend. The message was almost pathetic. "I know I handled things badly. I just need help getting through the next couple months." Not, "I miss you." Not, "I'm sorry." Help. Money. Again, I sent back one sentence. "You stopped being my responsibility the moment you treated me like an ATM." After that, the landlord officially refused to renew the lease. That was when the panic really started. Lorraine wanted to move back to her hometown because she couldn't afford the city anymore. Brianna started looking for roommates online after realizing her part-time income barely covered her car payment. Ethan desperately searched for studio apartments, but kept getting rejected because his debt-to-income ratio was terrible after falling behind on bills. The irony was unbelievable. They had demanded to live together so badly, and now they were all being forced apart anyway. Meanwhile, my life became strangely peaceful. My apartment was small, quiet, and clean. I decorated it exactly how I wanted. I started cooking again, sleeping better, reading books I kept putting off for years. I joined a gym near my office and reconnected with friends I slowly disappeared from during my relationship with Ethan. Financially, I was thriving. Without carrying 3 extra adults on my back, I started saving nearly $1,000 every month again. My down payment fund finally started growing instead of bleeding. The breakup changed something deeper, too. I stopped apologizing for having boundaries, stopped feeling guilty for saying no, stopped confusing love with sacrifice. The final text came last week from another random number. Ethan, I hope you're happy. You ruined everything. I stared at the screen for a second before blocking that number too. Because the truth was, I was happy. Not because his life fell apart, but because mine finally stopped revolving around people who only valued me when I was paying for them. He ruined the relationship the moment he decided partnership meant obedience. I just walked away from the wreckage. And honestly, it was the best decision I ever made.